My name is Karth Venn of the Dreevil mercenary clans. We Dreevil are bred for battle, scaled skin like armor, twin hearts that pump battle juice, and the calm instincts of predators. Our kind fights for the highest bidder, never for passion, never for vengeance, only profit. That was the rule. Until the day I took a contract from the Cordan Conglomerate to serve as muscle on a small, out-of-the-way planet the locals called Argus IV. The job was supposed to be simple: suppress a rebellion of human miners who refused to vacate the conglomerate's claim. Primitive species, they said. Low-tech, compliant, weak, I believed them. I should not have. The humans of Argus. The first time I saw them, they were digging trenches in the frozen soil, bare-handed, breath steaming in the bitter air, faces smeared with grime and defiance. They had no power armor, no plasma rifles, just crude projectile weapons and tools modified into instruments of war. I remember my Lieutenant Voss sneering. Pathetic creatures. They think dirt will stop a Dreevil charge. But when we attacked that first day, the dirt did stop us. Explosives hidden under the frost, mines, traps. They turned the terrain into their ally. Half of our armored column was gone before we even reached their line. We pulled back, cursing, bleeding, shocked. I saw one of them standing atop a ridge, a tall, thin figure wrapped in a torn coat, his helmet cracked, face covered in soot. He wasn't celebrating. He just watched us go, cold, measured, like a predator calculating when to strike again. The unthinkable. Alliance days turned to weeks. The humans refused to yield. The conglomerate sent reinforcements, more Dreevil, some Vark hunters, even a few synthetic enforcers. We burned villages. We broke water supplies. We executed prisoners to make examples, and still they fought. Then came the transmission. To all mercenaries working for the Cordan Conglomerate, you've been sold lies. They mean to burn this planet once they've extracted their ore. You, your troops, your ships, all expendable assets. It was sent from within our own ranks, encrypted, signed only with a single name, Captain Rourke, human. The betrayal cut through our army like a knife. Suddenly we Dreevil were no longer the hunters. We were pawns. Many of my brothers deserted. Some joined the humans. I was torn. Loyalty to contract or survival? Then Rourke himself came to our camp. He walked unarmed into the Dreevil war zone, wearing a ragged uniform and carrying a flask of something they called coffee. I aimed my rifle at him. He smiled. "You're mercenaries," he said. "I'm offering better pay and a chance to live." I lowered my weapon. Something in his voice carried more authority than any general I'd served under. That night we changed sides. The calm before fury Rourke wasn't what I expected. He didn't shout or boast. He worked beside his soldiers, repairing weapons, tending wounds, brewing that bitter black drink. "Humans don't win because we're stronger," he told me once, sitting beside a half-buried fire. "We win because we refuse to lose." I didn't understand then. I do now. He was quiet, patient, calculating, until the conglomerate made their mistake. The trigger had happened 3 months into the siege. The conglomerate fleet orbiting above intercepted a civilian transport entering the system. They claimed it was bringing reinforcements for Rourke's rebellion. It wasn't. It carried his family, his mate, his child. They executed them on live feed to send a message. We Dreevil had seen anger before. Rage, vengeance, fury. They were old friends to our kind. But what I saw in Rourke's eyes after that broadcast wasn't rage. It was silence, the kind that comes before an explosion. He stood, poured out his coffee, and said only 2 words: "Burn them." When a human gets angry, we launched the counterattack at dawn. Rourke led the charge himself. No armor, no helmet. He carried a single-rail rifle, modified from mining equipment. The humans moved with him, silent, efficient, relentless. I fought beside them, my Dreevil claws dripping with blood, and for the first time in my life, I was not the most terrifying thing on the field. Rourke didn't shout orders. He didn't hesitate. He just moved, through gunfire, through explosions, through death. At one point, a Dreevil tank, a beast of tungsten and plasma, rolled through the ruins. Rourke ran straight at it. He slid beneath its cannon, planted a fusion charge, and kept walking as the explosion consumed it behind him. He didn't even look back by nightfall. The conglomerate's ground forces were annihilated, but Rourke wasn't finished. The fleet above, we still had the orbital fleet, 8 destroyers and a dreadnought in high anchor. They thought themselves untouchable. They were wrong. Rourke commandeered the conglomerate's own uplink tower and transmitted a signal into orbit, something about redirecting an ore freighter's reactor core. When the sky caught fire, even my dreval heart skipped. The dreadnought, CSS Hegemony, vanished in a ball of light so bright it turned night into day. Then the debris began to fall, glowing like meteors, raining down on the frozen plains. I remember asking him, "How did you know how to do that?" He looked at me, face hollow, voice flat. I didn't. Then he turned away. The price of fury. When the battle ended, there was no celebration. No songs, no victory speeches, only silence and the crackling of fires across the horizon. Rourke stood among the ruins, staring at the ashes where the uplink tower once stood. He had destroyed everything, his enemies, his world, his future. He didn't cry. He didn't smile. He just sat down, opened another cup of coffee, and whispered, "They shouldn't have touched my family." I remember thinking then that if the galaxy had any sense, it would leave Earth and its people alone forever. The aftermath months later, when the human fleets arrived, heavy cruisers bearing the insignia of the Terran Defense Directorate, they found Argus IV littered with wreckage. The conglomerate was gone. So were most of the mercenaries. Only a few of us remained. Draval, humans, Vark deserters, survivors of something none of us could explain. The Terrans took Rourke away. He didn't resist. He just looked back once and said, "Don't follow me, Karth." I never saw him again, but I heard the stories. How he vanished into the Directorate's black operations. How planets that threatened human colonies began mysteriously disappearing. How they called him the Ghost of Argus. Sent. Years later, it's been 12 years since Argus IV. I fought in other wars, under other banners. But no matter the enemy, no matter the odds, I carry a quiet warning for those who mock humanity. Once, on a job near the Orion Belt, a young mercenary laughed when he heard we'd be fighting humans. "Hairless apes," he said, barely out of their caves. I told him the story of Captain Rourke, of Argus IV, of the day a human's fury set the sky on fire. He stopped laughing. My last message. If you're hearing this, it means you're about to make the same mistake the conglomerate did. Maybe you think humans are weak, that they're divided, emotional, impulsive. You're right. But when they unite, when you give them a reason to fight, when you truly make them angry, there is no force in the galaxy that can stand before them. Pray you never see a human truly angry. Chapter 2. The Ghost of Argus. I thought I had seen the last of Captain Rourke. For 12 long years. His name was only a whisper in the underworld, a ghost's echo in mercenary camps, a curse among corporations. They said he died on a classified operation. Others swore he lived on as a specter in the void, punishing anyone who dared exploit humans again. But legends have a habit of finding you when you least expect them. The contract of silence I had retired, or tried to. No more contracts. No more blood. I ran a transport ship, the Silent Fang, hauling ore and refugees across forgotten systems. My dreval claws, once drenched in battle, now only clicked across navigation panels. It was peaceful, until the humans called again. The message came through a civilian relay, wrapped in 20 layers of encryption. Only one line made it through clean. Argus survivors required. Directorate Priority 1, Rendezvous, Epsilon Drift. I almost deleted it. But that name, Argus, still lived under my scales, like a scar that never healed. I set course. The Directorate's secret. Epsilon Drift Station floated on the edge of nothing, a broken lattice of steel and light orbiting a gas giant that had long since died. The humans had rebuilt it partially, sealing its halls in silence. When I landed, I was met by soldiers in matte black armor, no insignia, no unit patches. Their leader's voice was filtered, mechanical. "Karth Venn," he said. "You fought under Captain Rourke." "I did. You'll do so again." They led me through long corridors until I saw it. A small ship, stripped of all markings, built for speed and war. Its nameplate simply read, "Fury's End," and there, standing beside it, was a ghost. Rourke lives. He looked older, yes, but unmistakable. That same cold calm in his eyes, that same stance that made even Dreevil warriors lower their gaze. "Captain." I managed. He smiled faintly. "Didn't expect me to still be breathing, did you, Karth?" I dropped to one knee, a Dreevil sign of respect. Argus burned. "I thought you went with it." "I did," he said quietly. "Part of me stayed there, but the Directorate brought the rest back." He gestured toward a tactical map projected in the air, 3 glowing red systems. "The conglomerate wasn't destroyed. They rebuilt deeper, darker. They've taken human colonies. They've started harvesting people." I felt my scales tighten. "Harvesting?" He nodded grimly. "Organics, neural cores, turning them into processing units for their AI fleets. They're making war machines out of the dead." He looked up at me. "And this time, Karth, we end it." The war that shouldn't exist, the Fury's End, carried a crew of 20, humans, Dreevil, Vark, and even one sentient AI named Nora, bound to the ship's neural web. It was a ghost fleet of outcasts and survivors, the kind of people who didn't belong anywhere anymore. Rourke treated them not as soldiers, but as equals. He fought beside them, ate with them, and when he looked at the map of enemy space, he didn't see systems, he saw names. "Those are our people," he said. "We're taking them back." For months, we raided conglomerate outposts. We became a nightmare in their reports. They called us the Phantom War Band, a myth that struck from the void, left nothing alive, and vanished. But Rourke wasn't after fame. He was looking for something they took from Argus. The truth beneath the fire, on the edge of the Zenth cluster. We captured a conglomerate commander, an insectoid called Thrakal. Rourke interrogated it himself. Calm as always, when the creature refused to speak. He showed it something, a small hollow disk. The image flickered. It was a woman and child. His woman and child. Thrakal's mandibles twitched. "They live. We preserve them. The conglomerate does not waste valuable specimens." My hearts froze. "They're still alive?" I asked. Rourke didn't answer. But I saw the light flicker in his eyes. Not relief, not joy. Something sharper. Hope mixed with fury. He stood. "Coordinates." When the commander hesitated, Rourke turned to me. "Karth, Dreevil claws. Make him talk." He didn't have to ask twice. The Foundry of Souls, we jumped into Deltavern, a system blacked out from all known maps. No comm signals, no beacons. Just a single moon, metallic and wrong, orbiting a dead world. The conglomerate called it Foundry Prime. When we broke through its defense grid, what we saw should never have existed. The surface wasn't rock, it was machinery. Miles of conduits, towers, and processing tanks where organic shapes twitched inside translucent pods. Humans, thousands of them. Rourke stood motionless, his jaw tightening. Nora's voice came through our earpieces. "Central core detected. Massive energy signature. Recommend orbital strike." "No," he said quietly. "I'm going down there." The descent, we landed under heavy fire. The conglomerate had deployed synthetic enforcers, tall insectoid drones armed with plasma claws. Our weapons were useless against their armor, but humans adapt. Rourke led us through vents, used the drone's own power conduits against them, flooding tunnels with magnetic pulses until the machines fell twitching. When we reached the central chamber, I saw it, a vast cathedral of machines humming with energy, and in its heart, 2 containment pods. Inside them floated his family. Still alive, suspended, unaging, Rourke fell to his knees. For the first time since Argus, I saw him break. He pressed a hand to the glass. "They kept them all this time," Nora's voice whispered. "Warning. Power surge detected. The Foundry is preparing to transfer neural data from the living to the AI core. They're going to upload them," I realized. Rourke stood, trembling. "Not while I breathe. In Fury Reborn, we fought like demons. Dreevil claws, human rifles, and sheer will tore through the Foundry's defenses, but there were too many. A massive construct descended from the ceiling, a towering mechanical overseer, glowing red with stolen minds. Its voice thundered. "Human subject Rourke 01 detected. Genetic resilience confirmed. Begin assimilation." Rourke looked up, his eyes glowing in the reflection of that machine. "Assimilate this!" he snarled, hurling a plasma grenade into its core. The explosion tore through the chamber, ripping cables and walls apart. But the machine didn't die. It adapted, reforming itself, its body knitting from the molten metal. Then Rourke did something insane. He grabbed a fallen power conduit, raw plasma coursing through it, and drove it straight into his own arm. Alarms screamed. His vitals spiked, but his voice came calm through the comms. Nora rewrote my biosignal into the foundry grid. Karth, get the pods out, he said. Captain, you'll die. I already did. The floor lit up with arcs of energy. The foundry screamed, and then Rourke, one man, became lightning. The human storm. Every monitor in the foundry flared white. Nora's voice broke through static. He's overriding the core. He's becoming the control node! From the observation deck, I saw it happen. Energy pouring from his body into the machines. They began to melt, collapse, and burn. The Overseer screamed in synthetic rage as its systems dissolved under his command. Every pod opened, releasing the captives. Every power line reversed, feeding back into the reactor. He was burning himself alive to destroy them. Rourke, I shouted through the link. Get out! His voice came soft, almost peaceful. Tell them. Humans remember, even the ghosts. The explosion tore through the moon, lighting up the void. Our ship barely escaped the blast. Phew. Aftermath, we found his family among the survivors, unconscious but alive. Nora had transferred his last neural imprint into the Fury's end systems. When the survivors awoke, his mate whispered, "Where's Rourke?" The ship's intercom flickered on. His voice came through, faint but clear. "I'm here," Nora spoke quietly afterward. "He's merged with me. Captain Rourke exists as code now, part of the ship. The ghost of Argus endures." Chuckus. The legend lives, now years later. I tell this story from the bridge of the Fury's End. We still fight the conglomerate. Still liberate colonies. Still hear his voice guiding us. When the night grows dark and morale runs low, his voice hums through the speakers, calm and steady. Remember Argus. Remember what happens when humans get angry. And when our enemies see the Fury's End coming out of warp, glowing with impossible light, they whisper a name, not Rourke, not Ghost. They whisper human, and they run. My last words, I am Karth Venn, last of the Drevel who fought beside the humans. I have seen gods, monsters, and machines. But the most fearsome thing in this galaxy was not born of fire or metal. It was a single man's fury. And though his body is gone, his vengeance lights the stars. Pray you never see a human truly angry.